Have you ever wanted to get a brand deal? Oh, maybe I already lost you. Maybe you're like, there's no way I could get a brand deal. Okay. But maybe you've wanted to just up your game on social media, up your PR game. Or maybe that's not even you. Maybe that's not you. Maybe you're starting something from nothing and you need some inspo. Well, my guest today is going to give you just that. I, as a woman, as a businesswoman, am so proud of her. She moved to LA just 5 years ago from Canada, and she is leading the way. She has her own PR company. She's working with some of the best influencers, really thought leaders in the world right now, people that have personal brands, but also products. She is a fighter in every sense of the word, and she lives out her practice. Ayesha Sehra, welcome to the show.
Gosh, thank you so much. It is an honor to be here, truly. It's like a manifestation right here, just to be here.
Well, girl, I'm so impressed with you, like truly. And I was on your show, what, a year ago?
Yeah, maybe a year ago.
Yeah, your amazing podcast, Coffee and a Good Vibe. And I just fell in love with you. And what I love so much is your drive and humility. And you are just paving the way. Like, I've known you for about a year and I've just seen the growth. And it's like, I was blown away when we first talked and you're like, yeah, I came here 5 years ago with nothing. And I'm like, what? So you should start there. Because so many people right now, they don't know their next move. They don't. And we need to hear your story.
Where do I begin? My gosh, as a fellow podcaster too, I feel like it's so important to just deliver from a place that's just going to go right into value.
Yeah.
And also not to make it too long, because I want to let you
Totally.
We can go in where we're really going to serve the community. But where should I begin? When I moved to LA. So I am from Toronto, Canada. So when you are a Canadian, you can't just move to the States. You know, it's not just like, oh, I want to live here, so legally you can do that. You need to get a visa. And because I had no family in the States, I went down this whole rabbit hole. I was 22 and I was like, you know what? Like, I want to live in LA. And everyone's like, you and everyone else. Everyone wants to live here. And of course, too, it's like what we see online is something so different than when we actually are like, okay, I'm going to do this.
Yeah,
like,
it's not
you have to face the facts of like, okay, this is how much it costs to live in like this type of area.
Dreamland.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, wait, how much is this? Okay, how am I going to pay rent? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I always say like the type of visa and the path that I went down, it's like building a business on steroids. Because long story short, to live here, you need a visa. And at that time too, at the end of the day, like, your visa has to be something that is why you're here. And it has to be something that is true to, like, your purpose, your vision here. So, like, working for a company wasn't an option for me. Going to school, like, going back to school wasn't an option because then you'd have to be full course load. You can't work. Like, there's so many little things. So I went down the path of the E2 visa, which is basically where you start and you basically build this business up until working order. So you establish your LLC, you open up a bank account for the LLC, you invest in the LLC, and then you do everything to get this business in working order. So you get you create a financial plan of like, this is what my company is, this is the niche, this is the offering, this is where I integrate in the landscape of LA and digital marketing, because that was for me what I was doing. And then you make essentially like a very big business plan. That's how many people you're gonna hire, how much money you're gonna make per year, how much tax you're gonna pay, everything about this company. And then long story short, there's so much in it, but you submit that and then you go, if they're interested, you go back to your home country and then you wait for the interview. And then you go in for an interview with the US consulate and then they have read your book that you've submitted.
Oh my gosh.
And then and also like I remember that day, like the back of my hand, because you go into the embassy and like you can't bring a phone, not like you're just you and your book, like your paper.
This is crazy.
And then you get called up like number by number. It's like it was not a happy place to be.
Right.
Like fluorescent lighting. Like I'm sitting there like staring at the
How
number.
old are you at that point?
23.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, and also like it's not people just applying for the E2. Like people doing the E2, yeah, they're fellow entrepreneurs, like but there's also every person under the sun who's trying to immigrate into Canada or like the States. So it's like babies were crying, like
oh my
people
word.
were screaming. It's like not a happy place. And then when you get called up, the officer is just like, you know, when you cross the border and like officers are.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah.
Even if you're like
that.
clean, it's still scary.
It's still scary. I'm like, can I breathe? He's like, stand on that line. And then they kind of hammer you with a lot of questions, but the questions were pretty like random, but then also like to make sure that you understand what you're doing. And like about like random questions from my business. He asked me a lot of different things. And then essentially at the end of that, he like gave me a paper and I had no idea what the paper meant. And then what that paper meant was I can go give my passport in because I got the visa and they need to take your passport for a couple weeks to put the visa in and it was crazy.
Oh my gosh.
But then it's off to the races because now I have this business and I have to now execute on this business plan and like actually like now you have the legal visa to do it. I did have the clients because I had to build up that deck of like, if my business works, like these are the clients who've signed contracts that they're going to work with Ayesha Sehra, grow the social. And yeah, so then it was off to the races.
So did you were living in Canada?
No,
you were here.
As a Canadian, like you're allowed to travel here. So I was like building the business, but technically, yes, like living in Canada. And then, but because I was coming so much, I had a lease lock already. And I was like, wow, if I don't get this visa, I literally have a lease that I've locked in because I was spending a lot of money just like Airbnb-ing when I was there. And then I found this like perfect spot. And I'm very big on faith and just like honoring your journey and having such trust and faith. And I really believe like all those actions that I took with like locking in the lease. But I actually even booked my flight back to LA a couple days later because I was like, I'm getting this visa. I'm showing like God, the universe, I am going to get it. So I even booked the flight. And I don't even know if it was like refundable. I don't know. I just do things like that all the time. Yeah. Because it's like my certainty.
You expect it. It's like I'm going to get it. It's going to happen. I always say God will meet you at your level of expectation. And it's like people need to expect bigger, expect more. So this is so wild to me though, that like you had to like have it all. Because most people are like, oh, I got a client and then get another client and then I'll figure it out along the way. So it's like you did it backwards.
Also, I get a lot of like younger entrepreneurs. People are always like, can I take you for coffee? Can I pick your brain? And you know what? I know we're so busy, but I do it because I remember when I was growing up, like when I was moved to LA, I would have valued that so much, like a 30-minute coffee with the founder who would give me some advice. And I don't think like I meet so many people who want to start their own agency or their own company and they're like, what was your path? Well, my path wasn't like necessarily the path I would recommend. Sometimes I actually would recommend like working for the best of the best. If you want to go down that path of like building your own business and it's in a certain niche, I think I would honestly in the States, if it was in Canada, I would say something different. But in the States, just because of like all the other elements of like, you know, you can get a great job with like healthcare and all that. In Canada, it's different. But I think you learn so much. I meet with so many like young girls who want to get into social media or like have an agency just like mine. And I'm like, if you can work for an amazing PR firm or marketing agency who are the best. You can learn their systems.
Yeah.
You can get exposure to work with such big client accounts, and you can get to work with that type of demographic. So then you learn so much, and then you can go apply it all into your own. So I always, whenever I meet people who work for jobs that they don't like, I'm like, switch your mindset around it.
Totally.
Learn as much as you can and be so grateful for the job. And then if you can do both, because I think you have to hustle. And I don't think a lot of people say the excuse, until I go all in, then I can go all. No, go all in on both.
Yeah.
Because you can do have it all. And yes, it's a lot of work. You're definitely going to be working a lot more, but.
Yeah. You have such a spirit of excellence on you. Yeah, you do. How you do anything is how you do everything. And so it's like you go all in with things. Did you know, or how did you know you wanted to do PR? And elaborate on the PR, because it's like some people think like, oh, does that mean like I'm in Forbes or I'm on KTLA News? Or, I mean, what I love about you like do like brand deals, and you like, I feel like you do the 2024 PR, you know what I mean?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel like, as Jake would say, my IP is like very different, like how I like position how to work with a client. And that's evolved because when I started my company, I did a digital media, like a marketing agency. I did everything from like brand consulting, helping them develop their online. I was very passionate about the fact that you can make multiple six figures a month from like online offers. So I kind of went all in on that. And I started helping people who wanted to build brands online scale their online business model. And I love business. So I would help different coaches and people who wanted to have online presence build their online presence. But also the biggest thing that I get, it's like, where's my ROI? So my whole thing with clients I would sign was, I'm going to take you from, if you're making 10K a month or 5, whatever it is, and I want to 3X that month. And then I want to 4X. And I had a whole model I was doing. And then I built out my own course around that. And I think over just those years, I have been really fascinated, and my network was growing, and my caliber of relationships I was always nurturing and building was growing so much that I was like, I have all these amazing brand connections. Also, the clients I work with, they've built these multiple six-figure $1 million businesses, and then they don't really need to work with me on how to do it. They want PR. They want to go to the right events. They want to speak on stages. They want to work with brands because they've built an influential following through that time. And I was also getting really excited about that. So then I naturally started the segue into like adding on brand partnerships, and then also working with various companies. I got to handle their influencer campaigns, and then that got me into working with various influencers. And then from getting exposed to different talent, I was like, wow, they need management that is like all in. Like, they're not getting the support by being signed to an agency.
Right.
You know, there's like these big management agencies, and there's tons, and they have so many people on their roster, and it's sometimes hard to serve a client, like a talent, in the fullest capacity to leverage their influence.
Oh, yeah.
So then that's how I started getting into talent management, and then I still do the brand PR side. But my approach, as you were saying, it is very custom, and I've kind of, over the years, I would say this year has been the biggest growth with it. I created this offer that I saw how I'm serving every talent and every brand. And basically it hits on all the layers, which I think hit on all layers of PR in 2024.
Yeah. Well, what are the layers? Because there's probably someone listening to this right now. They have a product, they have a brand, and they're like, I've never even thought of PR.
Yeah.
You know?
And I don't think traditional, like just getting press is the right thing to move the needle. I think it's a larger approach. So number one, I'll speak on like the founder, like say it's you.
Yeah.
I think there should be a couple of avenues we would go down. So speaking in podcasts placements, so getting you speaking at the right events, but not just events that you're doing pertaining to your business. So say you had a product that was like, you say you had a jeans brand.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, so if I worked with you, I'd be like, I want to get you speaking on the panels where our ideal demographic is at that event. So the panel placements and speaking placements, yes, some are paid, some might be non-paid, but they might be non-paid for an event that's going to 10x your reach online. So it might be like, say Goop had an event, I would want you front and center speaking on like the fashion panel for your company. So speaking placements, panel placements, and then podcasts. I think podcasts are such a huge avenue no matter what kind of product you have, because you go on that podcast and you build such an authentic relationship with the talent, first of all. And anyone who's invested into paid media with, if you have a brand, to get a placement on a show as a brand, it costs a lot of money. Some shows can charge like $50K for an ad read.
Yeah.
And if you go on that show and you build an authentic relationship with the influencer, so many beautiful things can birth from that partnership. But also, you have like 60 minutes of mic time to just share your story and add value. And also that converts so much harder than any ad read.
Yeah.
So podcast placements, but really strategic. And I make sure that we deliver. I think that's where I've seen a lot of growth, is because I can actually get the placements that I promise. And then on that note of like intros and connections and relationships, I think strategic introductions are very important for clients. Like there are a lot of events that happen. So PR events, but also just like dinners and intentional meetings where, like, say you're going to Miami or you're going to New York, like we should be connecting you with really powerful thought leaders and tastemakers to expand your Rolodex of relationships and connections. And I think so many things can birth from that without going into detail. Just like your network is so powerful. And it's like when I see you, I'm like, oh, there's like 10 people I know that you should know that are playing the game at such a big level. And you need to have that relationship. Brand partnerships are huge, right? I think every client has so many verticals where you can have authentic relationships and partnerships with brands that are really aligned. And those are monetary. Those are really organic in nature, that align to the platforms that you're active on as a client. And I think that I can go off on, but I'm really strategic with how I build out those partnerships. Social media collaborations. I think the events are a big thing. A lot of my clients want to host their own events or want to be at certain events that I might get into my funnel that they might not. You know, like private founder dinners at someone's house, or like they're going to New York Fashion Week and they want to go to all the top shows or be at a certain PR event that's very almost like gatekeep to get on the list.
Hard to get in there.
Yeah.
This is so next level, because I literally think so many people think PR and they think the news, let me get on for 5 seconds. And it's like, no, this is like what's happening today. And I've been on pods before where like versus the biggest news channel like KTLA, and I get customers, DMs, all this stuff from the pod, but nothing from being on national news. And do you think the old ways are kind of dying out?
You know what? I feel like for traditional, I think like having KTLA, Good Morning America, like those things are so incredible.
Yeah.
And I think should be on everyone's list of like, because personally for me, I get excited about that still. So I'm like,
don't get me wrong. I'll still show up at the station. I love it. But I just want to know if people are pouring money into that.
I think when people are so, for me as like an agency owner, when clients are so ROI focused, I don't think that's the best way to have an ROI.
Yeah.
So like, I do think it's valuable from the sense of like it goes on our press kit. It's like a name drop. And to me, what I say, like, for example, one of my clients who you know very well, Michael Chernow, I just closed an event partnership for his company at the One Hotel in New York and LA. And that type of thing is costly. And I got it comped. It's a partnership. It's a collaboration that we're doing, but it's around his launch of his product. So he values that a lot. But when I was sharing it and doing my pitch to them and selling them on it, I got to plug like all the TV he has, because he's done a lot of TV. And I'm like, you just know he's going to be media trained. He's going to be amazing and captivating. So I think like there's an element, of course, of like social proof and credibility. Like I've had clients that come to me from having all that traditional press, and I maybe, depending on the opportunity I'm pitching them for, I name drop that they've been on CBS and it should just tell the person like they're gonna be really well articulated. But on the write up element, I would say that so much of it is a pay to play now. So my angle when I have a lot of clients, like one of my new fitness clients I just signed, she's like, I want to be in Goop, I want to be in women's health, I want to be in this. I'm like, okay, let's do this. Let's not pay. Let's invite them to because she's doing a huge women's health event this summer in New York City.
Cool.
And I was like, I know all these people. That's why relationships are everything for my business. I will make sure they come to this event and they have the best experience, and then you get time with them after. Maybe we do a lunch or something after, and they're gonna fall in love with you because of how we're handling this relationship, and then they will write about you because they had the best experience, and we're not paying for that.
Yeah. Oh, okay. This is so good. I have 100 questions going down in my head because I'm just like, this is so amazing. Now, what if someone's listening and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't think I'm media ready, or, what the thing is like, when clients come to you, you have to feel confident, right? Putting them in front of events, things like that. So like, is there a process? Like, have you turned down people like, hey, you need to get a little bit more experience? Like, what does that look like? Where does someone even begin with this? Like, do they need to have their social media tight and right? And
no, I'm always like, as you guys know, I'm like, you have to create the opportunity, you have to get messy, you have to take action. I think truly on the note of like, and I sound like crazy with personal development, but for me, journaling and being so aligned with like my faith, my journey has helped me so much with clarity and like understanding who I am and what my mission is and what my purpose is. I think that's like the baseline of everything. So like, if you are doing the work on yourself and you are very in tune with like who you are, that obviously helps as the baseline.
Yeah.
I think what I would say, even, of course, it's important to like, I will help my clients with that stuff with when they're going on a show, making sure they feel prepped and supported. I also love to give them the tea, if you will, on like a certain podcast.
Yeah.
So when they go in, they know, okay, like this host maybe has a family of 3 and they're like a girl dad or whatever.
Right.
Like they know the little things like that. But when it comes to people listening and maybe not having the experience, I would say, like pitch yourself for podcasts that are even like smaller, because you learn so much from articulating yourself out loud, and then you listen to yourself. Yeah. Because I know people probably wouldn't do this without having the interview booked, but if you even go and start pitching yourself for smaller shows, like then it becomes so, like, you learn so much. I've had people tell me who've been on my show a while ago when I started it, that they've, like, some founders being like, wow, Ayesha, I remember that interview we did 4 years ago. I want to come back on because they've listened to themselves. They've really gotten so clear on what their business is and what their offering is, and know like what their value is. I think Jake can speak on this so well, but it's like so important to know like what your IP is. Yeah. I know there's been episodes on that. So it's like, it's so important to understand like what's your value, and then also not what I've noticed people have a tendency to do, and this is just through practice, is you talk about everything under the sun, or you talk about what you're building, and then you lose the audience. Yeah. Because you go on a rabbit hole, and rightfully so, you're so passionate about it.
Yeah. So like basically like niching down and figuring out like what is my unique message.
And what's my one thing I can go on this show and really nail home at the end and deliver to them.
And dominate and become known for that. And then when you become known for that, it's like, then you've earned the right, I believe, you can go to different things as you expand, but it's nailing that. And like, that can be your personal story, but then extracting unique intellectual property from your personal story. So that's what we're talking about, in case we're like losing you a little bit right now. But this is, to your point about personal development, this is a decision. I think it's a real decision for people to go, I'm not going to play small. Like if I'm going to build this business, I want to win and I want to go big with it. And in order to do that, you have to get out there. And I feel like a lot of people are hermits. They just want to stay behind the computer. They just want to text. And what I've noticed about you, you're always doing an event, at an event. You're always like networking. You're always building relationships. Like how important is that?
It's everything. I swear my business is only where it is because of all those moves. And I'm like, my permanent mood feeling is uncomfortable because I'm always doing that. Like even in 2 weeks, I would love to stay in LA, but I'm like, girl, you gotta get your ass back to New York because I'm building a lot of I'm signing a lot of talent in New York. I have a lot of relationships in New York, and people say this to me all the time. Even my clients who can afford to travel whenever they want will say like, oh, well, I don't know if I need to go. I'm like, no, you need to get on that flight and go because when you meet someone in person, it's a relationship. And you need to treat that, even though there's no money, you need to treat that as invaluable. And that's how I've always viewed it.
Such a good mindset. What I say always, like whenever I get into that frame of like, what's the ROI or like, am I going to make money from this? I have like a little mantra I'm always saying to myself, and money is always coming to me. It's always working out for me. It's always circulating. It's always to let go of those weird energies around it. Cause I totally get it, especially when it's money's tight, things like that. People kind of get in that frame of like, I can't go. And and it's like, Jake and I talk about it all the time. Like he met some of his first like major clients because he went to a Tony Robbins event, and not only went, he was in the front and he networked with all the platinums, which are all the successful
you're
people.
Speaking my language.
And I remember when we first started dating, I was like, what, you've already gone to this. Like, why are you going again? And he's like, because it's where I meet all the people and it's the best people. And it's like, it's the networking part of it. And it's just so huge. Like it's everything. And I think like a piece that stood out to me, like if someone didn't have this ability to like partner with you or some of these big companies to have events, it's like, have your own dang event. Like what's the power of people hosting an event?
Oh my God, when you're the host, like I've noticed this so much because I've been hosting events since 2021. I've been building all these relationships, and I was like, oh, I want to bring all these people together. I want you to meet you. I want you to meet you. So then I started putting on these events, these founder dinners, and then these bigger events. And, at these events now, like I don't get to go deep with anyone because I'm hosting it, I'm facilitating it, and I'm so busy. But after doing 9 of them that are like really 9 successful ones, I've noticed when you are the facilitator, the host of it, okay, number one, you get to create that energy in that space because I always get to intro and lead the event with like some sort of like talk and personal ethos of why everyone's there, which I believe changes the energy in that space, I believe when you bring intention to the things you do, it changes the energy of what you get back. And so that's number one. But number 2, with hosting, people know, they're like, Ayesha's the girl who always brings people together. It's what you become known for. And people will always want to add value to that as well. So when you host events, it's very powerful. It's like a subtle power move.
Yeah, for sure. And then it's a way to also promote your business.
Yeah.
And if it's a product, have samples or, what do you call them? Tastemakers?
Yeah, it leaves people with an experience too.
Yeah.
Like a lot of companies, if you're listening to this and you have a brand, I recommend hosting an event because your vibe attracts your tribe. You end up bringing in people together, and then everyone is like, oh, we met at this company's event. Like we built this relationship. They always remember who brought them together.
Yeah.
And also when they get to experience you, and they'll be a lifelong supporter to your brand.
For sure. I've noticed you like do really cool coffee and a good vibe. Like she does these live pod recordings at these events. Like no big deal at like Nobu. Haven't you had one at Nobu?
Soho Malibu.
Soho. Beside. Okay. But it's so cool because you're recording a live podcast. She does like a panel with, some heavy hitters. So like that gets them there. They're also recording. And then you have a whole audience of people. Plus you have samples of products.
I always say it's the Coachella for entrepreneurs because I love to have brand activations with cool brands that I like discover at Air One or discover that are trending in the space. And then everyone loves free stuff. So then they can go home with like, we've had like Aloe and Goop and like really cool brands that I would love. So it's just a full experience.
This is so great. Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about like online social media. What have you seen, like trends changing? You know, how important is it to show up online?
Yeah. And I admire you for this so much because you show up in like every area. And I always find that a lot of people will only want to show up, especially if you are a personal brand. I think it's so important to document so much of your life, like share different parts of it. You don't have to have, I actually am against having like 15 ticks in the story. Like just having quality content, but not being afraid to show, like if you're a founder like yourself and you're high performing, like, you know, seeing you, I know your business isn't a fitness business, but I love when you post like your workouts or the fact that you're up early and you are getting after it or that like, and I've noticed that with myself, like I started posting more of my schedules of like, okay, 5 a.m. this, 6 a.m. this, and I know it's a lot. Like people tell me I was on a call with this company, this tech company, and the founder. A lot of my business comes through people I've like met through my own relationships. Yeah. And he was like, yeah, sometimes your stories like give me a little bit of anxiety with how much you do today. And I laugh because I know I do a lot, but it's also like, it actually is really cool because you bring in people who really align to that, or people, I think it's good. I'm like, even as I develop of like ending certain things within myself of being a people pleaser and those things, I'm like, wait, this is good, Ayesha, like lean into it more. So I think it's so important, like no matter what industry you're in, to brand all parts of you and not be afraid to share it. And I think Instagram's an aesthetic platform, so you do have to play that game of like making your stories really pretty and like making sure the photo, and it's not hard now with an iPhone, like it does need to be like vertical content, cater to the platform, utilize the features. Every platform is different, but I do think like when it comes to social, playing with each platform and adopting what is like new to the platform, because platforms always reward that.
Yeah. Do you find like your clients that are on more and showing up, like they're more successful, like they're doing better in their growth?
I find the ones that are, consistent are doing a lot better, and it attracts more opportunity too.
For sure.
Like when they are posting, I have one client he is a big founder and he is crazy with his reels and posting all the time. And he will have a viral reel once a week. And he also is not too good. This is actually a big one. I was shocked when I like signed him as a client because he told me all the back end. When it comes to his personal brand, he is meticulous about working with his right hand. His assistant edits all the reels. His assistant's like the videographer, with choosing the sound bite. And he will choose it and he does not want to offboard. That's the most tedious task in my opinion. And the fact that he doesn't like offload that to the assistant and wants to be hands-on with it, because he knows at the end of the day, like he's very like energetically in tune with his content.
I'm exactly the same way.
I respect it so much.
Because it's like, I know my person. I know who I'm talking to. I had someone I was working with, they're like, just let me chop up a bunch of stuff and like, just do it for you. Yeah. And I was like, no, like, it's not going to hit. Like, I feel
that so much.
I gotta hear it.
It never goes viral. Yeah. Like on our podcast Instagram, I'm like, finding that when I post the reel, especially we do a lot of collaborators with our guests. Yeah. When I hit those buttons, it does way better. Yeah. I've tried to like get my assistant to do it, and I don't know, it just doesn't perform even though she does all the things I tell her. Yeah. It's weird.
I know, isn't this weird? It's so true.
I feel different about the company. Like if I had a product, I feel different about it, but when it's like your personal brand.
Yeah. Yeah. No, totally.
I'm all for having extra help. Like,
Oh, yeah.
in your social, yes. Like, if you're getting so many DMs and like it actually helps me. Like when my assistant's in my inbox and she flags things, it's so helpful.
Oh, yeah.
So I feel the same way with Instagram in that way, but the posting
Yeah.
and like being very hands-on with like even the day in the life reels, I've noticed that that's something that's doing well for me because I schedule my calendar kind of crazy. So I'm working with this girl, like testing her out on if like I can send her footage and she knows how to like. But we're working so closely. She's like, you have to tell me exactly everything.
That's what I'm doing with my partner as well. Like he's like near me and I'm like, this is what works. Like they have to learn your language. You can't just have somebody.
But then at the end of the day, you're taking that, you're posting it, you're doing the voiceover if there is one. It's not like fully delegated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so interesting how it works.
Even with the podcast bites, like your audience at the end of the day. So like I'll work with my editor and be like, okay, you choose or I like actually when your team is your demo. It's helpful, but that doesn't always help.
Yeah. So what if someone's listening and they're like, I want a brand deal? Ooh. How the heck do you do that?
Yeah, I think first off, the relationship piece is everything.
Yeah.
So most times, especially having an agency, like I find that we're so high success rate when we have a warm relationship with a brand we want to work with. Mm-hmm. So how do you get a warm relationship with the brand? Start posting about it organically or figuring out or sending them even a thoughtful DM, but like really personal, not like something that's like a cold outreach.
Yeah.
But like make it personal so you can try to get that warm outreach. Or if you don't know the brand at all, like I recommend that. But if you I feel like living in LA, a lot of my clients will send me brands that they want to work with. And I'm like, okay, I'll look at the brand and I'll probably know the founder or know the founder's friend.
Yeah.
And I always go about my relationships because when you have a very warm in, you can get a lot more out of that and pitch something. And then the second part to it for anyone is how intentional and strategic your pitch is. Because a lot of brands working in this space say it's like aloe. I'm not saying this is aloe strategy, but brands like that are big and established, they have X amount of influencers they want to work with. They have a model that what works, what doesn't work. So when you are approaching a brand, if you want to capture their attention and build something here, bringing them an idea that is something that they actually might close on and be like, oh, I want to hear more. So this is where I feel like what I do with talent is hard to scale because I have like a brain that will work very different and I will think of a talent and think of an integration, or they tell me like, Ayesha, I really want to do something with them. I think about everything we have going on with that talent, like our event strategy, like certain launches we have upcoming, certain platforms they have, and then I'll think about a unique pitch angle to get the brand involved, and it'll be different. It'll be something that will make them be like, oh wait, let's do a call. Like usually my pitches are so in depth that they'll want to do a call because it's like they're interested in it. And then also then price becomes something in your court, not their court.
Right.
If you were like really strategic with it.
That is so smart because a lot of people are like, can you send me product? Hey, are you doing partnerships? Like, it's like, no.
Another thing that's been super helpful for me when it's a brand I'm obsessed with is, or playing that long game. And like, there's a lot of brands that have said no to me personally. For my own personal brand that I've like, there's some brands on my list that I've like, no, don't do paid partnerships or only do like a paid partnership with like a celebrity, like a big celebrity. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna play the long game. I'm gonna continue to be loyal and God will make it happen.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy because it's happened.
Yeah.
There's so many brands that I'm chatting with now that I've always wanted to work with, and the founder has reached out or someone's been like, yeah, we've heard enough about like how much you do for us. Like, let's talk.
Yeah, so good. I mean, I've done that before where it's like, I'll get the product, I love it, I'm using it. I'll get maybe like a code from them for my followers, you know, a discount code. I'll put it on like Shop My, and I'll start building the relationship that way. Where again, they're not paying me. I honestly love the face oil. I use it every night, you know, but then I like it's not hard to find the founders. I find the founder, find the brand, and then I like look at my sales. I'm like, wow, I've really sold a lot of your face oil, you know? And then that's what happened. They reached out and they're like, hey, she's having an event in LA, you should come, because they saw how much I naturally was selling.
It's happened to me so many times. Like with this one like electrolyte brand, I loved them so much and they never had budget, and then the second they had budget for this like cool campaign launch, they were like, the founder and I became friends. He was like, let's get on a call. He's like, I knew you were the girl we had to call when we had budget for this campaign. We're going to test it with you. Like, what are your ideas? And it was so cool because I loved the brand so much. I like knew exactly what I wanted to do with them.
Yeah, I love that. And what you're saying, I really want to like take note on this. Everyone take note is like brands, companies, yeah, they have a marketing budget, but a lot of times like they need help in like content and reels and all this stuff. And so a great idea, I think, is if you love a brand, go make some reels.
And also have a pitch, like make a unique angle, like almost be like their business consultant, and then you deliver that and then they will want to do it.
Oh my gosh. Has there ever been any brand deals that you're like, wow, this is a lot of money. This is like...
For talent, yes.
Yeah.
I've had like gotten some, I whenever you sign something big for a talent, you're like, wow, wouldn't it be like, I need to keep doing my content game. Like a fun one for me was like one of my talent I was repping last year. Like it was an event that it was a store opening on Melrose, and it was so fun. It was like a fun event where everyone would just come, you get like drinks, food, like free outfit. So there's like this huge line. It's like a big thing on Melrose. She just gets to go in, gets VIP treatment too. Like you have like a personal shopper, get to try on all the workout sets, got to get like an amazing experience going to this event. And then you get everything. And then she had to do some stories and got paid a lot of money to do that.
Oh my gosh.
And it's like something that like people would just dream to do. It's really cool when you see just like how much you can get paid for being yourself and genuinely doing, like I would have done that. Anyone would have done that for free.
Oh, for sure.
Even if the clothes were just comped.
Yeah.
Let alone to get paid.
Yeah. Yeah. And
like little things like that. Even staying at your dream hotel.
Oh, come on. I know. I remember the first time Jake and I were like in Cabo, and I was like, this is like for real. You know, like it was just mind blowing. But I want to back it up for people that are like, oh, that's not me, whatever. I want to tell you, if you're thinking that, is to start showing up. Like it, and this is the thing, like these clients are landing these deals because they are out there. They're expressing themselves, right? They're doing the hard work. And now it's like, now you get to these deals, right? But it's like, I was posting when like only my mom liked it.
And I also, there's like two things I want to say there. Okay, on the posting that when only your mom likes it, post like everyone's seeing that too, because I think it can really be disheartening when you're posting something and you get like not a lot of engagement.
Yeah.
But you have to kind of continue to treat it like that's how I treat certain accounts that I grow that are my own. I'm like, I have to treat this like it's an account with 500K or 1 million followers, because the quality has to be there. And then naturally, like, that heart too is felt. And the other note is like, I see this, and I say this to current clients, and I like say this a lot to anyone. Like I do coffees and stuff with people who I don't work with all the time, and they're growing so rapidly. And I always say this to people and friends. I'm like, you have to make sure your heart is always in the right place. And like I'm really close with my family, and they ground me right back if I ever am like, oh, I'm growing, or oh, I'm this. Like, no, because you can also lose that. It's a blessing to have a platform. It's a blessing to influence. And anyone who takes that for granted, like that brand deal, or it's easy to I think you can lose it like that too.
Amen.
So I think you have to have your heart in the right spot and not lose it as you grow as well.
Oh my gosh.
It's like the biggest thing.
It really is.
It makes me worried for people who I see that happening.
Yeah. When it's your head gets inflated and you think.
Or even people I work with, right? Like you can see their growth or like how their ego's changing a lot. And I'm like, oh, they gotta
stay humble.
I had to just let go of a client because of that.
Really? So you let people go that have like
bratty energy, like, or not grateful and not kind, because it's not just to me, but like for me, it's not about if you're kind to me. It's like, are you kind to the new girl on the team or like someone we work with that is technically like, it's how they treat everyone. And you can see that a lot when you work with people in the capacity that I do, like how they walk in every area of life.
If they even say that in the speaking world, one of the speaking agents I work with, she was saying like, man, knowing you're not a diva, we can really get this done. And I'm like, what do you mean a diva? And she was like, some speakers, like they're divas, like they won't go to the VIP dinner and talk to the guests, that were in the room. They, won't turn in their slide, like certain. And I'm like,
I hear it so much too with events and things.
For me, it's like anything is a privilege and an honor, and even to the point of being able to post on social media. It's like, and I always like say, God knows the motives of your heart. And so stay clean, stay humble. And I'm so glad that you're so connected to your family. And I see you go back to Canada, Canada, eh? Like,
go get humbled.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, humble me. And that's a prayer I actually ask God all the time. I say, humble me, keep me pure, keep me clean, keep me,
It is so important.
It's so important, especially you, babe. You're like running with like the big dogs, and
But the only reason why I feel like I've been growing so rapidly right now is because I ground myself and I like sit with myself and go back to like my roots.
Yeah.
I really believe the second I take anything I've been blessed with for granted, I lose it. And I literally remind myself that every day. And yeah, I truly believe that. So
something you said to me the other day, I was like, whoa. And this is how I know you're built different. So you said to me and my husband, Jake, you were like, I was asking how the business was going, and you were like, yeah, I really found my lane and who I want to work with. And you were like, thought leaders, they're brand owners. And you were so specific. And you're like, before I was working with more influencers, not bad, but just I know what I want. And you're like, knowing what I know and know what I want, I could just stop what I'm doing and just go all in to focus on that, even if I lost everything, because I feel like integrity is so important to you. And I was like, whoa, like most people would never have the gusto to go, let's stop all this so I can pursue what I really want and what's meaningful to me. How did you get that way?
Oh my gosh, I think it's so much about personal development, my faith, and like knowing who I am and what I will tolerate. And like it's the same thing with like letting go of clients or people who don't align, relationships that don't serve you, because you have so much trust that like, that's how I feel even with dating. Like, oh, my person is going to come in divine timing.
Yes.
So let's surrender.
Yeah.
Because like even I see it with you and Jake, right? Like how you guys met and how beautiful that was. And I operate the same way with my work. And when you when you approach life with that and you are just so in tune with your faith and what God's plan is for you, you're always going to be guided to the right things. But when you're out of alignment, right? When you work with people who aren't aligned to that, or when you are doing something that isn't in your highest good, that I feel like then that's when chaos happens.
Yeah, it's incongruent, and it's just like you can't fake the funk any longer. It's hard. It's and that's where it's like, if anyone's listening right now and there's something in your life that's off, even I've had opportunities that on paper look good, but I would be a fake if I would sign my name. I would have been.
Yeah, I feel that way a lot with certain clients. I'm like, oh, the retainer, so good, but then I don't align to their value. Or, I've heard that they haven't treated everyone like proper, like I don't want to affiliate with that. But I also will say on both of our journeys, like, I think because it wasn't easy to get to, like, I started from literally not even a social security number, like, so from, like, I had nothing. Everything was so hard to do. Like, even the steps of, like, opening up a bank account, like, it was really hard to do that, even because I didn't have the visa yet. It's, like, all possible, but, like, when there's a will, there's a way. But, like, every layer was so difficult. I am just so grateful. Like, I think you build so much resilience and you build so much grit, and you also just, like, don't take a day for granted. I look up, like, when I got off the freeway and I was here in this area, I was like, so beautiful, the palm trees. Like, I was just like, this is so cool. Like, I remember when I was struggling to build my business and being in LA, I was just so grateful. I remember when I had literally, like, I had no money when I moved here. And I remember my laptop crashed, my Mac.
Oh, no.
And I was like, wow, I have to go buy a new laptop. But first I was trying to troubleshoot. So I was, like, at every, like, trying to get all these appointments, like, to get and I remember, like, sitting in LA traffic, and I'm like, wow, Ayesha, you're probably gonna have to buy a new laptop today, because like you need to spend, I don't know how much the laptops was, like, a new Mac was then, like, 4 years ago. I don't know how much.
Too much.
But I was like, oh wow, well, grateful I'm, like, in traffic in LA, and I was like, I made a little bit, I documented so much of these. One day these videos will go out.
You need to
But
recirculate.
I, like, was talking about, I was, like, in the car, and, like, how life, I was like, wow, I'm just so grateful though to be here. Like, I think it's a constant rewiring too.
Wow. Did you grow up this way?
I've just always been interested in personal development. So from a young age, I was always gratitude journaling, praying. Like, not like my parents said, like, you need to do this. They did it.
Oh my God.
They're happy I did.
Yeah.
But I think when life when I started playing the game in a bigger way, or, like, moving to a new country and, like, not having one friend here or one family member here, all I did was pray and trust and build my own belief system, because if I didn't do that, I had no one. So then now as a business owner, I feel like, wow, I don't feel scared of, like, money in that way.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with, like, my own thing with, like, up-leveling, obviously, beliefs as I grow, but I'm not, like, afraid of, like, those things.
You're not afraid of it. You're leaning in. You're like, come on, let's go.
I'm like, girl, you've been here before.
Yeah. This is just a new level.
Yeah.
And right now you are in expansion, and, like, with your team, all of it.
But then I see people, I'm like, always keep around expanders.
Yeah.
And focus your energy on the expanders. And I always think, like, okay, like, right now I'm in my own little growth hurdles, but, like, that person thinks that amount is a lot, or, like, that is, like, the person who has 100 employees. So it's like, if they can do it, so can you. So I think it's a constant rewiring though. Like, if you see someone doing what you want to do, view that as an expander of what's possible, and God showed you, like, plant them on your feed. Maybe it's via social media, or maybe it's in person, that they're in your path because they're showing you what's possible. That's why they're in your
That's right.
in your horizon, or you can even digitally, because we live in such a digital age, you can like see someone online, and if they can do it, so can you. And you got to rewire that in your head all the time.
You really do.
Because I feel that way so much right now with business. I'm like, wow, this is a big thing, but I'm like, but this person did it, so I can do it too.
Right. Yeah, you never want to be the coolest kid on the block, or, like, the one. You always want to keep expanding.
I'm very much like that. I'm like, I know nothing. Every day, like, teach me.
Yep, same.
It's helped me so much. That's a blessing too, because I work with people who think they're perfect. The second you think you're perfect is when everything gets taken away.
Oh, no, yeah.
I'm like, all I know is nothing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. How's your, like, do you time block? Like,
Ooh, I habit stack a lot.
Okay, tell me about that.
I'm so big on, like, wellness and I think entrepreneurship is a sport. I think that like if you are not, I literally think so too. Like when I'm in New York, I will walk to every meeting because it uplifts my energy in between. But like it's tiring in that humidity with my, I just like think if you want to operate at a high level, you need to treat yourself like you're an athlete. And I think growing up, I come from an athletic background. So people are always like, oh, like you have your personal training, you have all this, like you don't even use that anymore. I'm like, I use that every day. Knowing what my body, like knowing the power of macronutrients, knowing that I need to like about how to weight train properly because that's the type of workouts that I do. Like knowing all that knowledge is so important. And if I don't do, it's like my armor. It's like if I don't do all these health and wellness things, I'm not performing at my highest level. And I'm still, I will say, like I'm just growing and learning. I think living anywhere you are, you know, we're exposed to so much with wellness.
I know.
I'm like, okay, clearly I should be eating this way, but I will say it's like learning and then doing what's best for you. It's and always being that student to excel in the health and wellness area. Oh, it's so needed.
And you know, as being her friend and just seeing you and watching you online, even it's like I'm so much jamming with you because I'm the same. Like I'm like I teach performance. Like you know what I mean? Like it's how you can continue to go and to do it. And it's like getting up, taking walks, doing calls. I remember when I first met you, you were like, I'm doing like a brand deal while I'm on a walk right now, you know, and then it's, you know, to the point of like traveling across the country and then getting our own food or ordering it the way we want it from a restaurant. And it's like,
I go to so many events right now and it's cocktails, mocktails, everything, all sugar. I'm like, I'll just have a water with ice and a lime so it looks like something. And then like, I'm like, cause it's a sport. Tomorrow I have to wake up. And if I want to work out, I have to wake up at 5:30. If I want to pray, if I want to meditate, I got to wake up at 5:30. Like I treat it like a sport. And I find that the results happen because your output's better. And also like time, right? Time is money. So the habit stacking helps. Like I will go on a treadmill and just set the incline and the speed and then zone out on emails or voice notes. And a lot of our clients, like a lot of brand deals, a lot of things are on like our group chats. So even batching those, I think walking out, like I have a lot of little things that I do that help me expand my time. I think you need to.
You absolutely do.
Because I think it's an excuse straight up, like to say, like people tell me all the time when I post my steps on my story, like I don't have time to do 10,000 steps. I'm like, then you just need to habit stack it.
Yeah.
And I think also with the food, I understand like it can be hard sometimes to make those changes, but then you feel better when you do, and then you don't want to go the other way.
That's right. And you have more energy, more clarity.
That's how I feel when I'm in New York with the diet. I like I know my spots where I can get like my chicken breast, my cleaner sources, and it makes such a difference. So then you don't want to change.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You're living it, girl. You're doing
trying.
it.
Every day is a new adventure.
You're in the thick of it. You guys follow her on Instagram. What's your Instagram? Tell them.
It's just my name, Ayesha Sehra. So I can
spell it.
Spell AYESHA and then SEHRA. That's like I always say it's like, that's the best place. But I also have the podcast, Coffee and a Good Vibe.
Yeah. You're so incredible. Like this is 5 years in.
Yeah, it's wild. So much happens in 5 years. So 5 years flew by because I had my visa renewal this year. So
right, we got to get that. But where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
Oh my gosh, I would love. So, I'll speak from like right now. Hopefully, maybe it'll change. But I, of course, like want to be serving at my highest capacity. So right now, I've been like expanding the team, but with the right people. So I know that this will happen where, you know, I have an amazing, probably a lean team because I'm very intentional with that, but operating at such a high level, we're serving our clients the best we can so they can be expanding their impact. I want to have my whole brand in events and everything dialed in. Like I want to be the best at what I do as a host, as a speaker, as someone who facilitates events. I want to be the best in class at that. And I want to get my skills to do that.
Mm-hmm. You're on your way. Household name. I'm proud of you. I just want to honor you for walking in integrity. And for me, it's just refreshing to see somebody that's building something from nothing, but with such class, really. And I'm watching you, girl. And it's really encouraging, and your heart is so beautiful. And I cannot wait to see what God is going to continue to do in your life. So thank you for being here, and thank you for being in me and Jake's life.
Thank you. I swear, it's so rewarding, though, along the journey, because when I moved here, I will say I attracted a lot of things. But when you are operating in integrity, the coolest thing is the people that you attract into your life.
Right?
Because I was like, I'm just so grateful I met you and Jake. And I'm just can't wait to continue to grow our friendship, because I know we're going to do so many cool things. Yay. But it's so rewarding. I like anyone listening who doesn't have their tribe. It's like the more you operate in your lane, in your path, it finds you.
It really does.
Yeah.
Like attracts like. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.